You told yourself you'd start next month, not in a vague, unserious way. You meant it. You did the math. You could see exactly how it would work. A little less going out, a little more going into savings, a number that actually moved in the right direction for once. The plan was clear. The intention was genuine. And then next month arrived, and it looked a lot like the current month, and you told yourself the same thing again. This has probably happened more than once. It may have happened so many times that the phrase itself has started to feel like a private joke with no punchline. And if you have ever wondered why a person who is genuinely motivated to save, who understands why it matters, who has done the math and knows what is at stake, keeps pushing the start date forward, the answer is not a character flaw. It is a feature of how the human brain handles time. The mechanism has a name. Economists and psychologists call it present bias, and it is one of the most consequential and least discussed forces operating on financial behavior. Here is the core of it. When you imagine two future rewards, one arriving in a month and one arriving in a month and a week, your brain treats them as roughly equivalent. The difference between them feels small because both feel distant, but when one of those rewards is available right now and the other is a week away, something changes dramatically. The immediate reward suddenly feels disproportionately more valuable. Not a little more, a lot more. The gap between now and 1 week from now feels far wider than the gap between 4 weeks from now and 5 weeks from now, even though both gaps are exactly 7 days. This is what economists call hyperbolic discounting. The value your brain assigns to a future reward drops sharply as you move it from immediate to near future, and then much more gradually after that. The curve is steep at the front and flat at the back, which means that the decision to save money next month, made from the perspective of this month, feels completely reasonable. Of course, you will save next month. Next month, you will have things sorted out. Next month is not now. But when next month arrives, it is now. And now has the same steep discount curve it always had. And the savings that felt so easy to commit to from a distance become the thing you will definitely start doing next month. Ted O'Donoghue and Matthew Rabin, two economists whose work on procrastination reshaped how behavioral economists think about self-control, identified something important here. People are not simply irrational when they defer saving. They are responding logically to a consistent feature of how they experience time. The problem is not that their intentions are weak. The problem is that the self who makes the intention and the self who has to follow through on it experience the same moment very differently. The planning self is reasoning about a future scenario from a calm distance. The acting self is standing in the present, where immediate costs feel large and future benefits feel abstract. O'Donoghue and Rabin called this the distinction between sophisticated and naive present-biased agents. A naive agent consistently believes that next month will be different, because from where they stand, next month always looks manageable. A sophisticated agent knows they are present-biased, but still struggles to act against it, because knowing about a bias and overriding it in real time are two different things. Richard Thaler, whose work on mental accounting appeared in an earlier video, extended this research into one of the most practically significant findings in behavioral economics. Working with Shlomo Benartzi, Thaler designed a program called Save More Tomorrow, later known as SMARTY. The program did not ask people to save more now. It asked them to commit to saving a larger portion of their next raise before that raise arrived. The results were striking. People who could not bring themselves to increase their current savings rate readily agreed to dedicate future income to savings. Because the commitment was set in the future, the present bias discount had not yet kicked in. The future raise did not feel like current money. And when the raise arrived, the commitment held because it had been made automatically, before the present self had a chance to renegotiate. The SMART program is not just a clever design. It is a demonstration of what present bias actually is. It is not laziness. It is a predictable and measurable distortion in how time is experienced. And the distortion can be worked around, but only if you understand what you are actually dealing with. Hal Hershfield, a psychologist whose research focuses on how people relate to their future selves, identified an additional layer that makes present bias particularly stubborn in the financial domain. Hershfield and his colleagues found that when people imagine their future selves, the neural activity associated with that imagined person more closely resembles the activity associated with imagining a stranger than the activity associated with imagining their current self. Your future self, the one who will need the savings you are deferring right now, is not fully experienced as you. They are experienced as someone else, someone you bear some responsibility toward, the way you might feel toward a distant relative or a vague acquaintance, but not someone whose well-being carries the same emotional weight as your present circumstances. This matters enormously for saving behavior. When you choose not to save today, you are not, from the brain's perspective, making a sacrifice now to benefit yourself later. You are making a sacrifice now to benefit a stranger, and the calculus on that is different. The immediate cost is real and present. The future beneficiary is abstract and other. The present wins. Hirschfield's research found that increasing the sense of connection and continuity with the future self, through vivid imagining, through aging simulations, through any mechanism that made the future person feel more like the current person, measurably increased savings behavior. The intervention was not about willpower or financial literacy. It was about identity. How much you save depends in part on how real your future self feels to you. Morgan Housel, writing in The Psychology of Money, returns to the gap between income and wealth as the central terrain where financial life is actually won or lost. He makes the point that wealth is not what you earn, but what you do not spend, and that every month the saving is deferred is a month where the compounding clock has not started. The mathematical cost of deferring savings is not linear. It is exponential. A dollar saved at 25 does not do the same work as a dollar saved at 35, because the dollar saved at 25 has 10 additional years of compounding behind it. This is the part that present bias systematically obscures. From the perspective of next month, the cost of not starting now feels small. From the perspective of 30 years from now, it is not small. But 30 years from now does not have a presence in the current moment. It is a stranger's problem. The practical reflection here is not a savings rate prescription. It is not a rule about automating transfers or maxing contributions. The point is more foundational than any specific tactic. The point is to understand what you are actually doing when you defer. You are not pushing a decision into the future. You are making a decision right now, and the decision is not to start. Every month that begins with the intention to save more next month is a month in which a decision was made. It did not feel like a decision, it felt like a postponement, but the bank account registers it the same way. The gap between who you plan to be with money and who you actually are with money is not a gap in knowledge. Most people know what they should do. It is a gap in time perception. The future where the savings matter is too distant to feel urgent. The present where the savings cost something is too immediate to feel manageable. Noticing this does not make the bias disappear. Present bias is not a mistake you can correct by thinking harder, but noticing it changes what you are working with. Instead of asking why you lack the discipline to start, you can ask a different question. What would need to be true for the decision to be made before the present self has a chance to renegotiate it? That question has answers. The answers look like automation, like commitment devices, like Thaler's insight that future income is easier to allocate than current income because it does not yet feel real. But none of those answers are available until the actual mechanism is named. You told yourself you'd start next month. The question is how many months ago that was.